Good morning and afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to our webinar, Transforming HR with Dovetail HR Service Delivery Software. I'm Kane Frisbee, and I'm thrilled to be your host today as we embark on a journey to explore the cutting-edge capabilities of Dovetail HR. In today's fast-paced and ever-evolving business landscape, HR professionals face a multitude of challenges, from managing complex cases to fostering employee engagement. The demands on HR teams are greater than ever before. But fear not, because Dovetail HR is here to revolutionize the way you manage HR services. Throughout this webinar, I'm going to be diving deep into the core features and functionalities of Dovetail HR, designed specifically to address the needs of modern HR departments. Whether you're seeking to streamline case management, empower employees with self-service tools, or leverage the power of artificial intelligence, Dovetail has something for everyone. We're going to be exploring key modules such as HR and ER case management, an employee portal with our groundbreaking HR Copilot powered by GenAI, robust HR knowledge management capabilities, and advanced analytics and reporting functionalities. But what truly sets Dovetail HR apart is our commitment to efficiency and insight. With the GenAI Copilot seamlessly integrated within the employee portal, employees can access HR information and receive instant answers to their queries, transforming the way HR services are delivered within your organization. So whether you're a seasoned HR professional looking to elevate your processes or a business leader seeking to optimize HR operations, this webinar is tailor-made for you. Join us as we unlock the full potential of Dovetail HR and take your HR management to new heights. Without further ado, let's dive into the world of Dovetail HR and discover how it can transform your HR landscape. Sit back, relax, and let's get started. Okay, firstly, I just wanted to point out or make a mention of something we're incredibly proud of here at Dovetail HR Software. We have been voted the #1 HR service delivery platform for the last 3 years in a row through the Sapient Insights HR System Survey. That survey has been going for 26 years now, and it takes into account all HR systems and service software across the whole HR software market. So very proud moment for us to keep attaining this award. Next, a bit about who Dovetail is and what the platform actually offers. So the Dovetail HR Service Delivery Platform provides two fundamental areas. So there's HR experience and employee experience. On the employee experience side, we really focus on the employee portal. So how the employees can interact with data that's available to them, content, policies, articles, FAQs, documents, etc. And then how they can interact with HR through the portal web forms, the Dovetail HR Copilot, phoning in, emailing, and so on. Then on the HR experience side, it's all about case management and knowledge management, how your HR teams can work cases through workflow automation, adding notes, sending emails, receiving emails, service level agreements, etc. Even down to case surveys, and then a truly groundbreaking integration with Mineral HR that we'll talk about later. Finally, with the reports and analytics package as well, you can get all of that data summarized and out so that you can look at the management information and make decisions based on that. Lastly, down the bottom there, you'll see knowledge management straddles the whole of the system. So the knowledge that you create and share with HR is the same knowledge that you can publish to your employees. So it's one source of truth. Alerts and workflows make sure people are kept up to date with what's going on, whether they're employees, managers, leadership, HR colleagues. And then the system is governed by essential access roles and permissions. So if you shouldn't see certain things in the system, you won't see it. And if you need certain access to parts of the system, you'll get access to those parts. That travels all the way from portal to case management right through to reporting. Just some strategic partnerships that Dovetail has. So we are partnered with Dayforce. We have an integration. We are partnered with a company called Trust Mineral, and we actually have a webinar coming up with Trust Mineral at the end of the month. It's on the 28th of March. We'll send an announcement about that after this webinar. And then finally, we have a strategic relationship with WTW or Willis Towers Watson. If you're a WTW customer and you use their employee portal, then many of the HR case management functionality I'm going to show you today is available to you as well. Okay, so what are we going to look at today? So we're going to look at first the employee experience. So that covers the employee portal, the Dovetail HR Copilot, the MS Teams version of the Dovetail HR Copilot, and then how employees can interact with HR through emails, as they're probably doing today. Something I should make note of is when I say employee experience, it could be employees, managers, it could even be HR colleagues that are out in the field. They can also use the employee portal as well. And then we will shoot over to the HR experience. So where the cases are worked, where reports are created and run, where you've got the HR console, where you can see a real holistic view of everything that's going on with the HR case management system. Okay, let's head over to the employee portal side. And we do have a Q&A session coming up. So if anybody would like to ask questions, you can post them now. I do have a colleague of mine, David, who is on as a host as well, and he can answer those questions as we go through, or we can answer them at the end as well. Okay, so what you're looking at here is the Dovetail Employee Portal. The Employee Portal allows your employees to interact with HR content, so policies, documents, guides, etc., processes, maybe the employee handbook, and so on. The employee portal is customizable, so you can change the look and feel of it. So I've got the certain colors that I've picked for my demo portal here are these blues and the fonts and so on. You have the ability to change the look and feel and brand it with your look and feel, your fonts, your logos, your colors, etc., your graphics. Across the top here, I have a menu system here. This is all configurable out of box. So these menus do not exist until you add them in, and we would do that as part of an implementation. And the portal is actually a persona-based portal. So the menu structure, the homepage, the look and feel can all be customized based on the role of the person who's viewing this page. So if I'm a manager, maybe I see things like a manager drop down here. If I'm a HR manager, maybe I've got some additional access here. If I were an employee, I'd see something completely different. So let me show you an example of what an employee would see. And this is an employee. His name is Adam. Adam is not a manager. So you'll notice at the top, he does not have access to the manager drop down, and he has similar access that Logan had in the previous screen. He has a different homepage as well. There's different content on there, and it says, "Welcome to the employee portal." Adam has access to various things still, though. So he can still access the different menus across the top here, and he could go into an employee verification letter, for example, and see that content about him. So any letter that you want to build in Dovetail, you can build and publish on our portal and share out the link, and anyone can view and download and print that. Very handy if someone's looking for an employee verification letter. Here's an example of looking at a paid time off or a vacation policy. So it's pulling out information about Adam and showing it on the screen. We'll see some of this later when I show you some of the HR Copilot as well. And then Adam also has access to HR Copilot, so he's just going to ask one basic question: what's my vacation allowance? We saw it in the last screen. If anyone remembers, you win a gold star. So it actually was 17 days left out of 20. So the Copilot system is available to Adam, and it's also available to anybody that you deploy it to as well. And I'll go back over to my demo here and sort of show you that now. So a couple of other things before we get into Copilot. So these menu items can do a couple of different things. So they can open up pages like this. You'll notice this is my benefits page. So I'm logged in as Logan. Adam had a different set of benefits there. I can also open up a general question form and fill in a case and submit this to HR. I've also got access to things like the employee verification letter that you saw Adam see. And they can also go out to third parties. So if you've got payslip information in Dayforce, SAP, Workday, etc., you could have links like that here that take the individuals over to those systems. Dovetail is a global system. So if you have different HR payroll systems globally, when you log into the employee portal, the system will know what system to send you on to. So if you use Dayforce in America and Workday in the UK, for example, when you click on payslip, it's going to take you to the right version. So let's now show you what Copilot looks like. So here's HR Copilot in action. I'm logged in as Logan. I've opened up the HR Copilot on the bottom right-hand corner there. Again, everything you're seeing can be tailored to your look and feel. So the fonts, the colors, where it says HR Copilot, you could call it something completely different. I'm going to go through some different examples. So I'm asking a question here, where can I find information about benefits? Copilot redirects me over to that benefits page that you saw earlier. This is just one type of response that Copilot can do. So it can do these redirections. And I'm pointing out here that this information is coming from Dovetail, which is being fed from your HR system. So all of this information sits in your HR system today or in other systems. You can bring that into Dovetail. Here, I'm going to show an example of where can I locate my payslip. So rather than redirecting me, it's actually giving me a link. So in this example, I could click that link and open up my payslip. You can see that that would be in Workday. In this example, I could ask a question such as, how do I find my employee verification letter, please? Perhaps I'm going to get a mortgage or a loan for a car, and I need to download this. I don't want to wait several days. I want to secure that loan right now. And so you can see here how I can quickly get access to that, download and print. Could save as a PDF or print it out right there. And this information is all coming from your HR system into Dovetail. Here's a great way of showing how the system can interact with third-party applications. So an individual is saying that they've woke up, they're not feeling too well, and they're feeling sick. So what do? Maybe they're a new starter, they're not quite sure what the process is. So it's showing here the process is to contact your supervisor, and would you like me to text that supervisor for you? So what I've said is yes, and now it's sent a text over to my supervisor, Steve Morgan, and this is the text message it has sent. You can completely control the message and the content that's being shown on the screen again for that. Just going to do another example. Someone's typing in a lot of info. A lot of the time, people type in a very long sentence. So the natural language processing of the Dovetail HR Copilot can analyze and understand that. And in this example, it's giving me 3 options. So I've selected one of those options, and that's now going to do a redirect over to a intake form. And this intake form is asking me a set of questions about a workplace injury. Again, all of this is completely configurable by you, the customer. Also, what I'm showing there is the matching content. So maybe I could go and read the policy now if I wanted to. Here, we're actually going to talk about GenAI. So generative AI, which is basically taking a large handbook or a large piece of data and summarizing it in a much easier, concise, easier to read format. So that's the power of GenAI. Another example of GenAI, looking at this information here, and I can click on the source. So what you're seeing here is a large piece of content, career advice. I'm not going to read that whole article, it's just too much. But the GenAI puts a summary of that together, and that's more likely what I'm going to read. I'm not going to, spend my time reading all of that, for example. Some other examples, what's my vacation allowance? So this is how many days you've got left out of your allowance of 25. So perhaps I want to donate some of that allowance. If that's something that you offer in your organization, you can use Copilot to handle that transaction. So in this example, I'd like to donate some hours. You've got 104 hours remaining. Would you like to continue? Yes. So all of the confirmations you're seeing here are all based on your process in your workflow. So I'm entering 4 hours as an example. You could have logic that says you can't donate more than 8 at any one time. Now I'm being asked to enter in the employee ID. This is actually Betty that I'm entering in her details. And then again, I've got that confirmation step all the way through. And then that final confirmation, are you sure you want to donate 4 hours to this employee? And I've selected confirm. So at this point, the system can either create a case and send it to the right team globally in HR to handle this transaction, or we can have a real live integration with your HR system and handle that transaction live. This last one here is a common thing that happens with HR. People will send them questions that aren't really relevant for HR. So, how do I reset my SAP password? It's more of a IT question. So the Copilot recognizes that and makes a suggestion that, would you like me to raise this in the remedy system, for example? It could be ServiceNow, could be Zendesk, could be any ITSM system that you're using. And that way, as an employee, the Copilot has handled my experience, and I haven't had to go off and find where I needed to go to do that. So a great way for taking employees or manager questions coming in and then handling them and resolving them very, very quickly. Just going to show you an example of what that looks like in MS Teams. So I'm not going to show you all the same examples, but I'll show you a few here. And one great thing about MS Teams is the size of the real estate here. The UI is much bigger. So I've asked that same question, you know, where can I find my benefits? I can click on that link and it's going to take me over to my benefits policy. Through single sign-on, it's going to automatically log me in. A couple of other examples here. Where can I find my payslip? So same as what I showed before. So in this example, it comes up with again, a button I can click to view your payslip. The really powerful thing here is that the logic that's being used in the back end here in Dovetail HR Copilot is the same as the one that was on the portal. You are not sitting there having to create different workflows for Teams versus Portal versus Slack. It's the same logic you create in one place that allows you to then deploy that to various channels and saving you time when you're administrating that and giving the end employee, manager, HR person using this the same experience. That's the key. It's the same experience whether they go to Teams or whether they go to Portal. It's the same response and so on. Here's an example of, you know, I'm trying to get hold of my manager, can't find their contact details. So Copilot's presenting those to me and just say, hey, do you want me to send them a text message on your behalf? So I'll select on yes, and in the background again, you'll see my SMS system here received that SMS. And again, you can control the messaging here. So this is a simple message that's gone to Steve saying, hey, Logan's trying to get hold of you. Can you make contact with them? And then lastly, I think I'll show the generative AI. And I think this is where Teams really comes into its own, because when you're in the portal, that UI is a little bit smaller on the screen for a bot, but with the UI of Teams here, it's much larger. And I should point out, this is the same experience if you're using Slack. So it's a bot that you deploy in your Teams or Slack infrastructure, and then you grant access to your employees, and then they can interact just like I'm doing on here. And again, this last one here, can you offer any career guidance? So this is, again, a generative AI response. It's coming from the Dovetail system, and then it's redirecting me to wherever that content source is. The Dovetail HR Copilot can also index external content. It doesn't just have to sit inside Dovetail. It can index that content. Maybe it's on SharePoint. Maybe you've got some documents, some other policies in other areas. You can just dump them into the Copilot as well, and it can index all of that information. Okay, I'm going to come out of this one because it's the same scenario, and I'll go back here. Okay, so we've looked at the Dovetail employee portal, the persona functionality, so that the portal can be based on the person. So I'm Logan, I'm a HR manager, so I've got different access here, I've got different content available to me. And we've looked at Adam, who logged in as an employee, and he had a different menu structure, a different homepage. We've looked at the Dovetail Copilot in the portal and in MS Teams. Also want to point out that this Copilot system, not only can it sit in our portal, this could actually sit in your existing intranet. So if you're using SharePoint, for example, you can deploy this same user interface inside SharePoint as well. Okay, now we're going to head over and actually look at how employees interact over email with your HR teams. So here's an example now of an email that I've constructed. I'm sending it over to the Dovetail platform. So the Dovetail system can handle any number of incoming email accounts. So maybe payroll at companyname.com, HR at company name, ER at company name. You can have one or you can have several. I've added onto this email a simple attachment, some bullets, some screenshots. It's got my email signature in there as well. And I'm sending this as if I were Logan McNeil. So Logan hits send, and what's going to happen first is Logan's going to get a response from Dovetail HR, an email basically confirming that we've received her email, and it's generated an ID number, as you can see there, 3595. And I can click and try and search for an answer, or I could click and actually look at this case on the employee portal. So let's open that case and see what it looks like. Here's that case, and you can see we've got the screenshot, we've got the attachment added on the right, we've got the attachment down the bottom as well. And in this example, I'm just going to add a simple note. I really want this case solved today, so there's some urgency from me on this. And so I'm going to call back in later and just check. I need this solved today, please. So this allows your employees to add notes on the fly like this. You can also see at the top there, I could actually close. Maybe I've solved this myself, so I could close this case out automatically. And now if we go over as the HR person receiving that. So this is the HR console. I'm going to give you an orientation of this in a moment. But on the left here, I can see some shared inboxes. So I've got an email in payroll inbox, which we call a queue. In that queue, there's some cases, and that first one at the top there is that case that's come in. Again, you can see the screenshot and so on. And now I've opened that case, and this is what a case looks like when you receive it and you open it in Dovetail. All of the employee information coming from your HR system is shown here, and that is relevant information for you. You get to choose what information is shown. I can see there's a service level agreement on this case, and I need to close this in an hour. And I'm going to duck out the way. You can see there's some information there that's already been preset, like the portal case type, the payroll, and so on. You can also see that note that's just been added. So the first thing that a HR user typically does is accept the case. And I could do things like logging notes, logging emails. In this example, I'm just going to send a basic email back over to Logan, who's actually got my email address. So, hey, Logan, we're looking into this for you. And then I can log this email. Now, what will happen to Logan is she'll receive that in Outlook or in your email system, and she's going to be able to respond to that email. As you can see, here it is, and the full email trail is there as well. So the screenshot, the fonts, and so on, and I can reply to this email, and everything's going to be maintained centrally in that case record. It's not going to go off to an inbox where someone has to triage. This is one of the biggest time savers and ROI that you can get from the Dovetail case management system. It's going to bring all your incoming emails into HR into a case, either creating a new case or updating an existing one. And it allows your people then to focus on the actual cases and not have people rotating around, looking at emails into Outlook, deciding who should work on it, duplicating effort and things like that. Once you've solved that case, you can simply close it as I'm doing here. The case is closed. And then what's going to happen is typically the employee would get sent an email. The first one here is just showing that, hey, we got your email that you sent where you said, hey, thanks for looking into this. And that second email here is the final email once the case is closed. Hey, the case is closed. We think it's resolved. If it's not, reply to this email and it will automatically reopen. Or if it's great, click on one of these stars and give us a rating. The back and forth messaging like this one that's automated is completely configurable by you. You can control this. You don't have to have it as it's showing on here. You could have graphics, logos. You can change the look and feel of this completely. Okay, so we've looked at now looked at how the email comes in. So let's look a bit more into the case management system. And what I'm going to first start with is a bit of a basic orientation of the console screen. So we call this the HR console screen. This is where your HR users and your HR team leaders, and quite often a lot of our customers, their CHROs, will look at this screen to really get an understanding of what sort of cases are coming in, how quickly are they being solved, and which cases need assistance. Which cases do I need to help someone else with, for example? So you can see here we've got a big grid. So this is a list of all the cases that I currently own. I can move these columns around just like you would do in Excel. I can sort by these columns. And perhaps there's just too many columns. As you can see, there's a lot of columns here. So I can turn off any of these columns that I'm not interested in. And the system will remember that. So every time I log in, I'm not going to have to keep doing that. If I need to open a case, I can simply click on one of the items here. So let's click on the email in payroll. And I think this isn't the question from earlier, but it's a similar question. And I can open it up and see that case here, for example. I'm going to go back and actually create a new case just to show you what a new case looks like. So I'm going to paste in an example title. So let's say Logan just phoned in asking about a payroll issue. So next I'm going to select Logan. And in Dovetail, we have this feature called employee tags. These are these colored badges here. You get to control the terminology and you get to control how many tags you want. And these are typically fed via your HR system. And these will just be bits of meta information about the employees that you find interesting. So it's maybe interesting for me to know someone's a leader, or that they're a remote worker, or they're a VIP, or this person's part-time. You'll also note here that I've got two people with the same name. That's often a common thing in large organizations. So not only can I see the email address, the employee ID, and the physical location they're in, but these badges, these tags can also help me determine if I'm speaking to this individual or this individual. Let me select Logan up here. A couple of things have happened now. So I can see the previous cases has now been fulfilled. So I've got an option to click that. On the right here, these three dots, I can actually dive in and look at all of Logan's data here that's coming from the HR system. Again, this is optional, depending on what data you want to show here. The idea here is that this is going to help the user solve the question quicker. They're not going to have to look this data up in many different HR systems. They've got it all in one place, and you get to design the look and feel of that. But the interesting thing here, the previous cases for Logan. So I can see here that recently today, she had an issue with recent pay. If I can click on this, it will open in a new tab, and I can see that maybe Logan is calling in, didn't realize that, maybe she never received those emails that we saw a moment ago, and she's still wondering what's happening with this case. So rather than me creating a duplicate case, I can simply reopen this and carry on working on it, or assign it to the individual that closed it. Alternatively, what often happens, or can sometimes happen, is you have employees phoning in trying to get a different answer. We call that answer phone shopping. So they're phoning in trying to get a different answer from a different user in HR, and then sort of get a better answer outcome. So this feature here basically avoids case duplication, so two people working on the same issue, and it also avoids that sort of answer phone shopping. So let's create a different case instead now then. So I'm going to paste in this example here, and you'll notice as I was entering the case title on the right hand side, the Dovetail knowledge base was automatically populating. So you can see that here, there's a bullying and harassment policy. I can go read that direct from the case. I don't have to go hunting for it. I'm going to carry on and select Steve here as a concerning employee. So Logan's calling in with an issue with her manager, Steve. I can click on the three dots here, and I can actually scroll down and confirm that that's the manager there. Now I could select a case type. In this example, I'm going to select a grievance, and then additional details have populated. So now I can complete additional information about this particular event. Okay, here I would enter in some notes. Logan called in, was unhappy about a recent incident with Steve. You can copy paste in any images that you have there as well. And you can select various drop downs here. All of the drop downs in Dovetail, you get to control. Maybe you don't call things medium urgent. Maybe you put number 1, 2, 3, 4 here, for example. At this point, I can hit create, and it's going to save the case. And now you're seeing that same look and feel we looked at earlier. So we can see who the employee is on the left. We can see that this case is concerning this individual. I can see some basic data down here. And then I've got some tabs across the top here. So I can look at those additional details. Maybe I want to add some information into them. So in this example, maybe this happened last Friday. It's happened once. And where did this occur? Maybe it was in the kitchen in office B block. And anyone else see it? Say yes. Is this ongoing? Let's say no. And have we conducted the sort of interview? I'll say yes on this example. These are custom fields. You get to control what fields should show up based on the case type that's selected. So I'm just going to hit update on that. And now I can see that data is saved there. And then I'm going to move over to the right-hand side and just add an involved party. So in this example, let's imagine that someone called Betty witnessed this incident. So I'm going to select Betty here and add her to the case. And now I've connected Betty with this case, and I've got the employee who's raising the concern, and I've got the concerning employee here who the complaint is against. Next, I'm going to just log a simple note here. Maybe I'm still on the phone to Logan, and I want to have some questions. I have some questions for her that I want to add some additional data to. You could either do it through those additional fields that I had, or you could have a longer format like this. And then I could also send out an email to Steve, for example, and have a template for that as well. So maybe I've built a pre-built template that I want Steve to answer, or I could phone Steve up and interview and have this as a note as well. Okay. So now I'm going to head back over to the console area and sort of show you a bit more functionality around how you can use this console for finding cases and saving those queries and then sharing and even downloading. So let's say, for example, I'm interested in all the cases that are currently open and that were created within the last 90 days. So let's say within the last 90 days, I'll just hit enter there just to sort of show you. So these are cases that have been created in the last 90 days that are currently open. Not that interesting at the moment. But let's say I want to see where the cases that haven't been modified more than 30 days ago. So basically what I'm actually saying here is, show me all the open cases that have been open for at least 90 days and nobody's touched them for at least 30 days. So now it's a bit more interesting. Now I've got 16 cases that are sitting here. No one's looking at them for the last 30 days. I can do things like sort them by the priority, the SLA that's on it, and so on. What's even better is I can save this. So I can go in and say save as, and I can even put a little emoji in. You can see the sort of emojis I like using. Let's do a red dot. Oh, a pair of cherries. So open cases, no interaction, something like that, and hit save. And now that I've saved that, I can actually repeat every time I log into Dovetail. I can always run this query. I don't have to go and add these filters in again. And what's better is I can actually save it to my favorite queries. So I can make it a favorite, and now it will show up on the left-hand side. You can see some other favorites I have here. So these are all cases that have come in through the chat interaction. It could be AI chat, it could be live chat, and they've been open and haven't been modified for 30 days. I can also do queries on other objects. So I can query any of these items in the system. So employees, physical locations, survey responses. So here's a list of all the active employees. Here's a list of everybody that's on probation. Here's a list of everybody that's a high potential, that's a flight risk. This is all based on the employee tags that are coming in. You can see how the query is working. So show me everybody that's active. Show me every employee that's active that has the tag hypo for high potential and also has a tag flight risk. Okay, some other things I can do is quickly drill into any open harassment cases that are breaching today. So the service level agreement module in Dovetail allows you to see all the cases that I currently own that are breaching today. I can even, let's move that SLA column over here just to show you what else you can do. You can then also sort the cases by the amount of SLA time remaining, and you can choose to go top down or bottom up. I could also see my SLA dashboard. So across all the different cases I'm working that I own, what are the ones that are breaching first? Put them at the top. I need to work on those first and focus on them. I can also have queries on all the knowledge base articles, maybe my top 10 articles that I always need to go find. Let's go back to this open cases, no interaction. And let's say I want to share this with my team. So I simply click on the share icon here. I could share it with an individual user. I could share it with a whole department, or I could share it with a whole work group, or just share with everyone. So let's just click on that. Now, everybody who's a user of Dovetail will be able to find that query, Perhaps it's a query I want my team to work on, for example. They won't have to recreate it. But the power of Dovetail's security model means that they'll only see the cases that they have access to. So if I were working ER cases and I gave this query to someone that wasn't allowed to see ER cases, they would not see those cases. And then lastly, I'm just going to show how you can simply click on download and you get that report very quickly. It's just opening on, yeah, there we go. And so you can quickly download that. Perhaps you want to put that into a mini report that you're interested in seeing. Okay, now I'm going to head over and show you the last piece here, which is reporting and analytics. So here's an example of a dashboard in Dovetail. Dashboards can be real time, they can be populating every few seconds, and you can determine which of the widgets on the screen here are constantly updating. Some things you may not want to update more than once a day, some things you want to update every sort of 5 seconds or so. The dashboards are drillable and they're interactive. So I've got a simple filter on the right here. I can quickly select, and as you see, the dashboard data starts to change. I can interact with the data, move things around. Maybe I want to do a screenshot and add it into a presentation I'm working on. I can drill down. So here's a list of all the first contact resolutions that are high priority, and I want to actually drill down and see that data. I can now split it down by the different type, and I can actually drill down into the individual record. So very quick and easy to interact with the data through the reports module. All of the data that you're seeing here is based on what permissions I have as well. Here's another example of a report, and again, I can interact with it. It's drillable. I can change the look and feel of the report, change it to a bar graph, for example. I can change the colors if I want to. And I can, again, drill down to any of these items as well. Just going through each of these tabs to give you a sort of example of the different look and feel graphics that we have in the Dovetail report system. And pie charts, 3D pie charts, 2D ones, really gives you a sense of the different type of reports that you can build in Dovetail. And all of the reports that I'm showing, you can schedule these. So you could have them automatically run, going out to the right team member. Maybe you've got a manager that doesn't use Dovetail, but they want the reports. They need to see the reports. So you have a report created, you schedule it, and you send it to them on a Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. in the morning, for example. It can be sent as a PDF or a spreadsheet. And you can send someone multiple reports as well. And then the Dovetail system actually comes with over 80 out-of-box reports. The ones you're seeing on the screen are just ones that we've created for a demo. But you can see here, again, I'm going to move out the way. You can see here that there's over 80 different Dovetail pre-built reports. And typically with an implementation, we will get the customer looking through these reports to see if there's one that meets their needs. And if not, we will create new reports for them. And we will also train you on how to create your own reports. Okay, so we've gone through the employee experience. We looked at the portal. We looked at the Dovetail HR Copilot in the portal, which can also sit in SharePoint or any intranet page. We looked at the MS Teams version of that. It's the same version in the back end. So you only have to create one bot, and it can be deployed across multiple channels. We looked at how emails come in to Dovetail and automatically create cases or update existing cases. We also looked at the HR experience. So what is the HR console in Dovetail? How does it work for your teams? How does it work for your managers, your users, etc.? We looked at HR cases and working those, adding notes, adding emails, receiving emails. And we also looked at reports and analytics. What I wanted to sort of leave you with is, if you missed our last webinar 2 weeks ago, we did a webinar with Crystal Carter. Here's some points on the screen here. We will send out after this webinar a link to the recording of this webinar, but we'll also include a link to Crystal's webinar. And why that's relevant is you've actually got a customer there, a customer called Danone, and they're actually talking about how they use everything I've shown you today. So how they use the portal, how they use the Dovetail system, the reports and analytics. And Crystal also talks about the feedback they've gotten from the employees as well. Right, now we've got a short window of time for any Q&A. I'll check to see if there's any questions. Looks like mostly been answered. Is there any questions that anyone wants to ask while we're still on here live? Looks like David handled them all. Good job, David.
If you see anything that you'd like to add some filler to, Kane, by all means.
Okay, let me have a quick scan down. Okay, great question from Shane Lake. What setup is required for Copilot? I haven't had a chance to read David's response, but basically, Copilot allows you to do intents, and it allows GenAI, and it allows workflow. With I laughed because I just realized I was meant to poll everybody and ask them what you wanted to see next, and one of the options is GenAI and the workflow system. I'll run that poll in a second. What you can do is you can point Copilot at your existing content and do nothing more, and it will just handle it. It will just index it, and you can then have people ask it questions, and it will provide you answers. Or you can add some intents. With the intents, we suggest you add those for sort of definitives. So, hey, I have a question about my payslip. Where do I find it? There's a definitive answer there. Give me a link and just send me there. Or where's the benefits policy? A very sort of standard question and response. Where it's a bit more difficult, where someone wants to understand a policy, so the employee handbook's very long, there's sections in there. Maybe I just want to know about the parental leave part. I don't want to have to scan through 30, 40 pages or 60 pages. I just want to go straight to it. That's where the generative AI comes in. You don't have to do anything other than point Dovetail Copilot at that generative AI. If you're interested, Shane, we can do an actual demo, personal demo showing the Dovetail workflow of Copilot. So let me just bring up a poll that I'm going to run. Apologies, I was supposed to run this at the very start. So how do your employees and managers contact you today in HR? And you can select any of those. So is it through, have you already got AI chat? Are you using emails, phone calls, things like that? I have 3 questions to ask you. So there's this one. I'll give it a few moments, and I'll scan the other questions in the Q&A while we're doing that. For a question from Susan for HR Copilot, can admins get the conversation details? Yes, I forgot to mention that you get to decide at the end of every Copilot interaction, you can either log a case or you don't have to log a case. It can even update existing cases. It can actually log multiple cases as well. So you get to choose how you want that to happen. You can also have it where a case is logged and automatically closed if the employee has been given their answer. If the employee says, no, this hasn't resolved, then that case can be left opened. And with Dovetail Workflow, you can move that case to the right team. An example of that would be if someone was asking a question about payroll and they're based in France, then when if that question was not solved, then when the case is created, the case can automatically route to the French payroll team in that example. And you can also do metrics on cases that haven't been answered, or questions from Copilot that were answered or not answered. This question from Cindy here: does this sit on top of an HRIS system that would process payroll, applicant tracking system, performance management, etc.? So I agree with David here, more alongside. So you have your existing HR system and you have Dovetail alongside it. Dovetail can interact with your HR system. What a lot of HR systems do is they contain a lot of complex data. So you've got employee information, manager information, position information, terms and conditions, services, payroll data. And usually in most HR systems, that data is across many forms and fields. So your users are having to navigate lots of pages just to find an answer. With Dovetail, we can bring all that content into one form, one page on the case page that I showed earlier, where you could see and drill in and see employee information. The speed at which you can see that, you can pretty much write an ROI just on that alone, depending on how many cases you get a year.
Ken, you want to answer Sue's last question? Does Dovetail integrate with SAP ERP currently?
So a great question. So we have real-time integrations with Workday. We have real-time integrations with Dayforce. With all other systems, we have a generic HR connector. This is data coming into Dovetail about employee info. Now, as it relates to HR Copilot, that can integrate with any system. You can build your own integrations inside HR Copilot, or we will be adding more connectors. So there's going to be out-of-box connectors to SAP SuccessFactors, for example, this year. And then we'll add some more into Workday and Dayforce as well. Okay, I'm going to end that poll. I'm going to run the next poll quickly. So the first one was, how are you receiving the questions from employees today? And the second question here is, how do you record those questions? Do you actually have a tool already today? Do you record them in a HR tool? Do you put them in SharePoint lists, spreadsheets, post-it notes, keep it in email, that sort of thing? Yeah, an anonymous attendee asks if you could add more than 2 individuals to a case. So you can do that through the involved parties. And as David said, you can also add child cases. I was a former customer of Dovetail's when I was in the UK. And what we did is if we had an investigation that was going on, or if we had a big piece of work that had to be split into multiple parts for someone else, then we would create a case and we would create mini child cases off of that case. And then we could have 2 people on each of those child cases, so, and plus all the involved parties as well, and all of that information is reportable as well. Yeah, David's got pretty much all of these answered. Okay, and I'm going to do the last poll, which I think may be quite interesting, which is, what would you like to see in a future Dovetail webinar? So we could do a deep dive into Dovetail HR Copilot on the administration side. So you can really get to see how we configure the workflows, the intents. We could do deeper dives on employee portal, workflows in case management, the integrations that we have with WTW, Workday, Dayforce, the generic HR connector, and so on. Holly asked a great question about attachments coming through the system. So they can come in via the employee portal. Your employees can simply copy and paste and drag and drop attachments in, or they can paste screenshots straight into the case on the portal side. They can do it all through live chat as well. And they can also do it through emails. And of course, your HR users on the HR facing side can upload attachments, view attachments. Any attachment that comes in to Dovetail, regardless of the channel, it all goes through a virus scanning procedure. And so sometimes the attachment is grayed out, you can't get to it. A few seconds later, it will be virus scanned and it passes, and then you're able to download and view it. And when you view an attachment in Dovetail, it opens it inside Dovetail, and you can also download it if you wanted a hard copy as well. You also can forward attachments out from Dovetail. So if you're in an email and you want to forward an attachment over to someone else, it's right there in the email. You don't have to go hunting for it, looking for it. You simply can select it. Okay, with that being said, if I missed any of your questions, we will look at all the questions and we'll put some answers together and then send them out with the recording as well. That fundamentally concludes our webinar, Transforming HR with Dovetail HR Service Delivery Software. We hope you found today's session informative and insightful. Before we part ways, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for joining us today. Your participation and engagement have truly made this webinar a success. As we wrap up, I encourage you to reflect on the key takeaways from today's session and consider how Dovetail HR can revolutionize and transform your HR operations. Remember, the journey to optimized HR management begins with a single step, and we are here to guide you every step of the way. If you have any further questions or would like to explore Dovetail HR in more detail, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. We're here to assist and to support with your HR transformation journey. And talking of HR transformation journeys, I really urge you to go back and watch the last webinar. It is on our YouTube channel, but like I say, we'll send it out. It's the transformation journey that Danone did with Dovetail. And lastly, once again, thank you for your time and participation. We look forward to connecting with you soon. As you see on the screen here, next webinar is going to be on the 28th of March, 11 a.m. Eastern. It's a webinar about Mineral HR, which is a HR and compliance system. It's integrated with Dovetail. It's part of the Dovetail system. So as a Dovetail customer, you get access to Mineral HR for free. And there's an integration that we're going to dive deep on that. Lastly, again, thank you all. Best luck in your HR endeavors, and I am looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. Take care, everyone.
Cheers, everybody.